Bet by Anton Pavlovich Chekhov. So it has been written by a Russian writer. This is the part of your test 4 syllabus. Now we are going to start with it. Arunima, you can start reading.
Good morning, teachers.
Good morning.
The Bet by Anton Pavlovich Chekhov. The Bet is a Russian short story by Anton Chekhov, published in 1889. The story is about a banker and a young lawyer who, while
Debating.
debating whether or not capital punishment is more humane than life, make a bet with each other. The idealistic young lawyer bets he can survive 15 years of imprisonment, and the banker bets
Imprisonment. Arunima, it's imprisonment.
imprisonment, and the banker bets him 2 million rubles
Yes.
that he can't. The lawyer is imprisoned
Imprisoned. It
in a
means
wing
to be in jail. All right.
in a wing of the banker's house and allowed access to books, music, wine, and necessities. As the 15 years come close to an end, the banker realizes that he will be renewed ruined if the lawyer collects on this bet and decides to kill the lawyer. Mentally broken by his years of captivity, the lawyer gives up on his bet.
It's captivity, Arunima. Captivity.
The
Yes.
lawyer gives up on his bet and he purposely walks out of his cell early so he can't collect his money.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Well, so over here, see what's happening. As the story's name is suggesting, so there must be a bet present in the story, right? So two people have entered into a bet. Let's see what happened. So it's a Russian story by Anton Chekhov, published in 1889. The story is about a banker and a young lawyer. So these are the two main characters present in the story. So one is a banker. So banker is obviously a very rich person. And then there is a young lawyer who, while debating whether or not capital punishment is more humane than life. So basically, what is a capital punishment? Capital punishment means to give death punishment to somebody. Like when you hang some person to death. It is still present in our country also, right? For murder and for exceptional cases, capital punishment is given. For example, the convicts of the Nirbhaya case, they got capital punishment. You all know about it. It was debated a lot on television also. All of them got capital punishment. They were hanged till death. So this is capital punishment, where you get death punishment for something. And what is life? Life over here means life imprisonment. When a person is imprisoned or jailed for his entire life. Right? So this is the second kind of punishment. Both are very harsh. So a debate was going on between a young banker and a lawyer to identify which punishment was more humane and which punishment was more cruel in nature. So while they were debating, they made a bet with each other. So let's see what happened. The idealistic young lawyer bets he can survive 15 years of imprisonment. So the lawyer is saying idealistic means someone who has a lot of principles, all right, who believes in some idea and adheres to that. He's a principled man, basically. So the lawyer is saying that he can survive 15 years of imprisonment, and the banker is betting. The banker is saying that he is going to give him 2 million rubles that he can't. So the banker is saying that it is not possible for you to survive for such a long time in prison. And if you can do so, then I am challenging you that I am going to give you 2 million rubles. And what is ruble? Ruble is the currency that is used in Russia. For example, over here we use the rupees. In Russia, they use rubles. In America, they use American dollar, right? So Russia, they have the currency rubles. The lawyer is imprisoned. So we come to know that the lawyer has accepted the bet. So he is imprisoned in a wing of the banker's house. What do you think could be a wing? See, when there are huge bungalows present, then they also have a small room in their garden, right? They have a small room for the guest or anybody who comes. So they have some room, something in the corner of the garden. So that can be called as a wing in a bungalow. So the lawyer was imprisoned personally in the banker's house only, practically. So he was there in the banker's house, imprisoned in a wing, and allowed access to books, music, wine, and necessities. So basically, the lawyer was allowed to access all these things. If he wished that he wanted to listen to music, he wanted to read books, then all these things were provided to the lawyer on his request. And all the other necessities. So necessities can include medicines, food, everything, right? As 15 years come close to an end, the banker realizes that he will be ruined if the lawyer collects on his bet. So basically, it is describing that now 15 years are going to pass very quickly, and the lawyer was very strict and firm in his belief, and he said that he was going to survive. So basically, the time was nearing. Maybe 13, 14 years or 15 years were about to pass. So the banker was now very worried that if he survives 15 years in prison, that what will happen to me? So the banker realizes that he will be ruined. What do you mean by ruined? It means to be destroyed. If the banker has to pay 2 million rubles to the lawyer, then naturally he will lose a large portion of his wealth, right? So the banker is thinking that if the lawyer remains in prison for 15 years, then he will be ruined, and decides to kill the lawyer. So now the banker decides that before the lawyer wins the bet, completes the term of imprisonment, I should kill the lawyer so that I don't have to pay 2 million rubles to him. Mentally broken by his years of captivity, captivity means to be enclosed somewhere, to be in bondage, because he was imprisoned. So the lawyer became mentally broken by his years of captivity. Since he was in prison for such a long time alone, so he became mentally broken due to it. The lawyer gives up on his bet. So the lawyer leaves the bet voluntarily, right? The banker was thinking of killing him, but the lawyer gives up on his bet, and he purposely walks out of his cell early. So he comes out of the cell early on his own, so he can't collect his money. Okay, so this is the detail about the story. So now I think we can start with the text. Okay. Yes, Akshay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, start with the
It
text.
was a dark autumn night. It was a dark autumn night.
Yes.
The old banner was walking from corner to corner to his study, recalling to his mind the party he gave in the 15 years before. There were many clever people at the party and much interesting conversations. They talked among other things
Yes.
of capital punishment. The guests among them
Among them.
not a few scholars and journalists for the most part disapproved of capital punishment.
Yes.
They found it
Obsolete.
obsolete
Yes.
obsolete as a means of punishment and
Immoral. Yes.
immoral. Some of them brought Some of them thought that punishment should be replaced by life imprisonment. I don't agree with you, said the host. I myself have experienced neither
Neither, yes,
capital
yes,
neither capital punishment nor life imprisonment.
yes.
But opinion, capital capital punishment is more moral and more humane
Humane, yes.
than imprisonment.
Imprisonment,
Execution kill execution kills instantly. Life imprisonment kills
yes.
slowly.
Okay, stop. So
Thank you.
now see what's happening. It was a dark autumn night. So what is autumn? Autumn is that period between the summer and the winter, when the season of summer is passing by and the season of winter is coming. So the phase between them is called the autumn season. So it was a dark autumn night. The old banker was walking from corner to corner of his study. Study means a room in which books are kept, where a person reads, right? So the old banker was walking from one corner of the room where his books were kept to the other corner. So basically, it tells us that he was thinking about something deeply. So he was disturbed about something, recalling to his mind the party he gave 15 years ago. So he must have given a party 15 years before. So now he was recalling that party. There were many clever people at the party and much interesting conversation. So at that party, many clever people were present and there was much interesting conversation going on in that party 15 years ago. They talked, among other things, of capital punishment. So one of the topics that was discussed in that party 15 years ago was capital punishment. And I have already told you that capital punishment means a death penalty on somebody, a death punishment. The guests among them, not a few scholars and journalists, for the most part disapproved of capital punishment. So now it is being said that apart from a few scholars and journalists, everybody that was present in that party disapproved of capital punishment. So only some of the scholars and journalists supported it. Apart from that, everybody who was present in the party, they disapproved of capital punishment. Disapprove means to reject something. They found it obsolete as a means of punishment and immoral. Obsolete means a thing that is out of use, that is out of relevance. Okay. For example, in today's time now, the standard telephone that we used to have with the wire and everything, now it can be called obsolete, right? The black and white television that was used in the homes, maybe when you were not even born, your parents used to watch black and white television. So now you can say that is obsolete for today, right? For music, people use the Walkman. So that can also be called to be obsolete in today's world. Now even the touch keypad phones, where all the numbers are present, the keypad is present, that mobile phone is also becoming obsolete gradually. That means it is now out of relevance, out of use. So the guests that were present in the party, they said that now capital punishment has also become obsolete as a means of punishment, and it is considered to be immoral. Immoral means something that is wicked, that is not human like, right? That is not virtuous. Some of them thought that capital punishment should be replaced by life imprisonment. So some of the persons who were present in the party, they said that capital punishment should not be given. Instead, it should be replaced by life imprisonment. And life imprisonment means to jail somebody for his entire life duration, right? till he lives, that person is going to be in jail. That is life imprisonment. I don't agree with you, said the host. So somebody must have said this. So the host is the banker. So basically, the banker is saying, I don't agree with you. I myself have experienced neither capital punishment nor life imprisonment. So now the banker is saying that I have not experienced capital punishment, nor I have experienced life imprisonment. But in my opinion, capital punishment is more moral and more humane than imprisonment. So the manager is saying that I have not experienced both, but I have this idea, I have this conviction that capital punishment is better than life imprisonment. So this was the opinion of the banker. Now, what is the reason that he is giving for it? Why he thinks that capital punishment or death penalty is better than jailing somebody for life? He is saying execution kills instantly, life imprisonment kills slowly. So the banker was of the opinion that if we kill someone, that person is immediately, instantly killed. So the person is relieved of his misery, right? If you are killed immediately, then you are free. There is no suffering. So the banker is saying that a person does not have to suffer a lot. He is killed immediately. But life imprisonment, what does it do? It kills slowly. So for your entire life duration, you are in prison, and you are every day you gradually die. You are killed slowly through the process of life imprisonment, because you are in jail. You cannot talk to anyone. You cannot enjoy life. So all your life you are in prison and you keep on dying gradually. So this was the opinion of the banker, that with capital punishment, you are relieved, you immediately die and you are relieved. But in life imprisonment, you die every day slowly and gradually, because all your life you remain in prison. Okay. So this was the opinion of the banker. Now we will move ahead. Yes, Anushka. Anushka Sengupta.
Yes, sir. They are
Yes.
they are both equally immoral, remarked one of the guests, because their purpose is the same, to take away life. The state is not God. It has no right to take away that which it cannot give back. It should so desire. Among the company was a lawyer, a young man of about 25. On being asked his opinion, he said, capital punishment and life imprisonment are equally immoral, but if I were offered the choice between them, I would certainly choose the second. It's better to live somehow than not to live at all.
Okay, Anushka, stop. So now what happened that one of the guests at the party said that they are both equally immoral. So someone at the party was of the opinion that both of the punishments were immoral. And the reason is given, that the reason that is given by him is that because their purpose is the same. So this person is saying that they fulfill the same purpose, whether it is capital punishment, which is death penalty, or life imprisonment, that is jailing a person for life. The purpose of both of these is same, that is to take away life. So their purpose is to take away life of a person. Why? Because in capital punishment a person dies, and in life imprisonment also the life of a person is totally ruined. He does not have any control over his life for his entire life duration. So he consider it to be equal as taking away life. If a person cannot enjoy life according to his own wish, then he is saying that it is equivalent to take away life of that person. So he is saying that in both the cases, life is taken away. The state is not God. State over here is the authority, the government that punishes, right? Only the government has the authority, the power to punish. So now this person is saying that the state is not God. It has no right to take away that which it cannot give back if it should so desire. So he's saying that life is something the state has no power to give. Even if the state wants, it cannot give life back to a person. So if the state cannot give something to a person, then it does not have the power to take it also. Because only God has the power, only God has the authority to give life to a person. So only God should have the power to take life also. Because the state is incompetent in this matter. The government cannot do anything. So if it cannot give life, then it should also not have the power to take life also. So this was the opinion of one of the guests that were present at the party. Among the company was a lawyer. So among the guests, a lawyer was present, a young man of about 25. On being asked his opinion, so when people asked him about the opinion, he said, capital punishment and life imprisonment are equally immoral. So he also considered both of them to be equally immoral. But he said, if I were offered the choice between them, so he was making a hypothetical situation that if he was in trouble, and if he had to choose between the two, that what will you choose? He said, I would certainly choose the second. The second means life imprisonment. So the lawyer said that I will definitely choose life imprisonment. That means to jail a person for life. It's better to live somehow than not live at all. So the lawyer was of the opinion that it is better to live somehow. Somehow means even if you are living in a very poor condition, like in the case of life imprisonment, where you are in jail for your entire life, then also he is saying that it is better to live than not to live at all. So he's basically saying that it is better to live than to die. Even if you are living in a very poor condition, then also it is better that you live instead of dying. So the lawyer was of the opinion that life imprisonment is better than capital punishment, because in life imprisonment, at least a person gets to live, even if it's in a poor state, but then also a person gets the right to live at least. And the lawyer was of the opinion that living is more important than dying. Right. Now, yes, Unnati, you can start. Start reading quickly. What happened? Okay, maybe she's not able to read. Yes, Genius, start.
Yes, sir. There ensued, there
There
ensued,
ensued, yes,
ensued a lively discussion.
yes.
The banker, who was then younger and more nervous, suddenly lost his temper, banged his first fist on the table, and turning to the young lawyer, cried out, "It's a lie. I bet you 2 millions you wouldn't stick in a cell even for 5 years." "If you mean it seriously," replied the lawyer, "then I bet I will stay not 5 but 15. 15, done," cried the banker. "Gentlemen, I bet 2 millions. "Agreed, you bet 2 millions. I am my freedom," said the lawyer. The guests tried to
Dissuade,
men, dissuade the two men, but they were adamant.
adamant, yes.
Recalling this, the banker asked himself, "Why did I make this bet? What's the good? The lawyer loses 15 years of his life, and I throw away 2 millions. And does it prove that capital punishment is worse or better than imprisonment for life? No, no. On my part, it was the impulse of a wealthy man on the lawyer's pure greed."
Okay, stop, Genius. So, because now the lawyer was giving an opinion that was exactly the opposite of the banker, right? The opinion of the banker was that capital punishment was better, and now the lawyer was saying that life imprisonment was better. So because of this, a lively discussion started. Ensued means to start because of a result of. Okay, something is happening as a result of, and why it is happening, a discussion started because the two were having different opinions. So because of the different opinions of the lawyer and the banker, a lively discussion started. The banker, who was then younger and more nervous over here does not mean to be tensed about something. All right, nervous over here means impulsive, to act on impulse, right? So basically the banker was a young man, okay, and he was very rich also. So the people who are very rich, they usually don't want to listen to know about anything, right? They always, the people who are rich, they want that everyone should agree to their opinion. They have some amount of pride in themselves, right? So when the lawyer opposed or gave an opinion which was exactly opposite of the banker, so naturally he lost his temper, he lost his cool. Okay, so he banged his fist on the table and turned to the lawyer and cried out that you are telling a lie. It's a lie. I bet you 2 millions you wouldn't stick in a cell even for 5 years. So naturally, the banker got carried away. He was a wealthy man, so he got carried away that the lawyer is not accepting his opinion. So he got angry and he said that I will bet you 2 millions you can't even stick in a cell of for 5 years, and you are saying that life imprisonment is better. If you mean it seriously, replied the lawyer, then I bet I will stay not 5 but 15. So now the lawyer is saying that if you are serious about this bet that you are going to give me 2 million, then I will say that not only 5 years, but I can stay in prison for 15 years. 15, done, cried the banker. So the banker shouted, okay, 15, done. So basically the banker is accepting the bet that, okay, you stay 15 years in prison and I will give you 2 million rubles. Gentlemen, I bet 2 billion. So now the banker is talking to all the guests that are present in the party. He is announcing publicly that I am betting 2 millions in this bet. Okay, agreed. Yes, 2 billions. My freedom, said the lawyer. So now the lawyer is replying, okay, I am agreeing to the bet. You bet 2 millions, my freedom. So now the lawyer is saying that you are going to give 2 millions and I am betting my freedom, which means now I will be in prison. So I am going to lose my freedom. So this the lawyer was paying the price of his freedom by going into the prison, and the banker has betted 2 millions in this bet, right? Now let's see what is happening. The guest tried to dissuade the two men. Dissuade means to discourage someone, to prevent someone. So the guest realized that now this is an unnecessary bet going on. We were just having a conversation and now things are getting heated up for no reason. So the guest thought that let's try to discourage them, that they are doing a stupid thing. So they were trying, all the guests were trying to dissuade the two men, but they were adamant. Adamant means stubborn in nature, not listening to anyone. So basically all the guests were explaining that it is a useless, futile bet. Don't get angry, come out of it. We were just having a conversation. But the two men who were making the bet, they were unshakable, they were adamant, they were stubborn, they were not listening to anyone. Recalling this, so now the banker is now remembering what happened 15 years ago. Recalling this, the banker asked himself. So basically, now we come to the present time. So now the banker is thinking about 15 years ago. Why did I make this bet? What's the good? So now today the banker is thinking that why I have made this bet. What's the good? What is good in this bet? The lawyer loses 15 years of his life. So now he is thinking that he was a young lawyer of 25 and he loses 15 years of his life because of this stupid bet, and I throw away 2 million. And the banker is saying that I lose 2 million, I throw away 2 millions, and the lawyer is losing 15 good years of his life. And does it prove that capital punishment is worse or better than life imprisonment? No. So the banker is saying this stupid bet cannot prove, because with one isolated case, you can never prove which one is better, capital punishment or life imprisonment. And moreover, when a person is punished, then that person is not given any money, and that person is imprisoned against his will, right? If a person is punished, then he is punished against the will of that person. Over here, the lawyer voluntarily went into the prison, and he was being awarded handsomely, that is 2 million rubles. Nobody is given so much money for going into prison, right? They are just punished. They don't get anything for it, and they are forced to go into prison. Over here, the lawyer went into prison voluntarily on his own volition, and he was going to get a very huge sum of money if he succeeds. So basically, it was not a punishment, but it was a, you can say, it was a plan, it was a bet, it was the, wait, somebody is joining. All right. So basically, you can see that the lawyer was acting on his own volition. Nobody forced him. So it can never prove that life imprisonment is worse or capital punishment. So the banker is now talking about how the bet was totally futile. On my part, it was the impulse of a wealthy man. So now the banker is saying that why he entered into the bet, he is saying that it was the impulse of a wealthy man. Like I just told you, that a wealthy man cannot listen no to something. A wealthy man has a lot of pride in himself. So basically, in order to show off that he is a rich man and he should be respected, his decisions should be given importance, his opinion should be given importance. So that is why the young banker immediately jumped into the bet. So this is what the banker is saying right now on the lawyer's pure greed. So now the banker is saying why the lawyer entered into the bet. It was because of pure greed. So the lawyer was greedy because he was a young lawyer at the age of 25, and when he was offered 2 million rubles, he thought that I should enter into this bet and earn 2 million rubles. So the banker was impulsive in his decision and the lawyer was greedy. And that is the reason why they both entered into this bet. All right. Himansh, start reading.
The banker and the lawyer signed an agreement which lay must
Minutest.
down the minutest details of the confinement.
Yes.
The lawyer must undergo his imprisonment in a room in the banker's garden. He would
Yes.
not leave the room, see any person, hear human voices, nor receive letters and newspapers. He could eat and drink whatever he pleased, have a musical instrument, read books and write. He would communicate his needs by means of written notes passed through a window specially constructed for this purpose. The period of confinement was exactly 15 years. Any attempt on the lawyer's part to go against the conditions freed the banker from the obligation to pay him the 2 million.
Okay, stop. So now we are getting the details of the bet. Okay, so an agreement was signed, and what does it contain? The banker and the lawyer signed an agreement which laid the minutest details. Minutest means the most smallest of the details, right? Smallest of the details were written down in that agreement of confinement. What does it mean, confinement? It means imprisonment. So the smallest details of the imprisonment were written down in the agreement. The lawyer must undergo his imprisonment in a room in banker's garden. So I told you that in the garden of the banker, a room was present and he would be imprisoned over there. He would not leave the room, see any person, hear human voices, nor receive letters and newspapers. So he cannot do all these things. He cannot come out of the room. He cannot see any person. He cannot even hear human voices. And he was also not allowed to receive letters and newspapers. He could eat and drink whatever he pleased, but he was allowed to eat and drink whatever he wanted, have a musical instrument, read books, and write. Then he could communicate his needs by means of written notes passed through a window specially constructed for this purpose. So a special window was constructed in the room from where he was allowed to pass notes outside for his needs. If he wanted food, water, any book or anything, any musical instrument, then he could pass down the chit and his needs will be fulfilled. The period of confinement was exactly 15 years. So he was he was imprisoned for exactly 15 years. Any attempt on the lawyer's part to go against the conditions. So these were the conditions basically. So it was written in the agreement that if the lawyer attempts to break any of these conditions, if he does anything against the conditions, it freed the banker from the obligation. Obligation means a responsibility, a commitment, and freed, to free someone, to release someone from the obligation to pay him 2 million. So basically, if the lawyer violated any of these provisions, right, then the banker would be free from giving him 2 million rubles. So he must follow all the necessary conditions that have been laid down in the agreement. If he broke any of the conditions, then the banker was not going to pay him the 2 million rubles. Okay. Now we will do this last paragraph. Yes, Mahi.
Good morning, teacher.
Good morning.
During the first year of imprisonment, the lawyer appeared to suffer
Appeared, yes.
terribly from appeared to suffer terribly from loneliness and boredom.
Yes.
From his room day and night came the sound of the piano, and he asked for romantic novels, stories and crimes and
Stories of crimes and
fantasy.
fantasy. Yes.
fantasy comedies.
Yes.
In the second year, the piano was heard no longer, and the lawyer asked only for classic. In the fifth year, music was heard again, and the prisoner asked for wine. Those who watched him said that during the whole of that year, he was only eating, drinking, and lying on his bed. He yawned often and talked angrily to himself. Books he did not read. Sometimes at night he would sit down to write. He would write for a long time and tear it all up in the morning. More than once he was heard to weep.
Okay, stop. So this is the last paragraph we are going to do today. So during the first year of his imprisonment, so now we are getting the details of the first year of his imprisonment, the lawyer appeared to suffer terribly. So he was terribly suffering from loneliness and boredom. So naturally, when he is in prison, so he will feel lonely, right? Because no one was there to accompany him. And he was feeling bored also. A lot of boredom was there because he was all alone and he could not meet anyone. He was confined to a single room. From his room, day and night came the sound of the piano. So what the lawyer was doing, he was playing the piano day and night in order to make himself come out of the boredom and loneliness he was feeling. So he was taking the help of of music to come out of his loneliness and boredom. And he asked for romantic novels, stories of crime, fantasy, comedies. So he is basically asking for storybooks so that he could divert his mind into the storybooks and relax a bit. So he was reading romantic novels, stories of crime, comedies, and fantasy. What fantasy means? It means the things that are not present in reality. They are fiction basically. So he was reading fictional stories. In the second year, so now we are getting the details of the second year, piano was no longer heard. So in the second year, the lawyer stopped playing the piano and he asked only for classics. So what is classic? Classics are novels that are liked by critics. You also know that a work of art is of two types. One work is classic that only critiques like, the general public does not like it much, right? The general public does not read books that are classics, they don't watch that movies a lot, but the critics like them a lot. So basically it has a more refined taste. After reading the books for a year, now he was having some understanding, some knowledge of the story books. So now he was asking for books that were of a deeper meaning, the stories that had a deeper meaning. So he was asking for classics that the general public will not easily understand. So from here, you can see that his mental state raised a bit, right? He was able to now understand complex stories, okay, that had a deeper meaning hidden in them. So he asked for classics. In the fifth year, music was heard again. So now we come back to music. In the fifth year, the lawyer again started to play the music and the prisoner asked for wine. So now we can see that in order to fight his loneliness, now the lawyer started drinking wine. Prisoner has been used for the lawyer, right? Because he was imprisoned practically. So he asked for wine in order to fight his loneliness. Those who watched him, so basically who took food to him, the books to him, so those are the persons who watched him, said that during the whole of that year, he was only eating, drinking, and lying on his bed because he was having nothing to do. So he just played the music sometime, and for whole year he would just lie down, eat, drink, and lie down on his bed. He was drinking a lot of wine basically in the fifth year. He yawned often and talked angrily to himself. So this also shows that there was some mental turmoil also going on in his mind because he used to talk angrily to himself. There was no one to whom he can talk, right? So now he had started talking to himself only. Books he did not read. So in the fifth year, he was not reading any books. He was only playing the piano and he was eating, drinking, lying down and talking angrily to himself. Sometimes at night he would sit and write. So in the night time, sometimes he would sit and write. He would write for a long time and tear it all up in the morning. So for the entire night, he would keep on writing, and in the morning, he would tear it all up, whatever he has written. More than once, he was heard to weep. So people even heard him weeping more than once in the fifth year of his confinement. Okay, so from this paragraph, we are getting the hint that by reading a lot of books, his mental state, his intelligence was increasing, but he was also suffering from a lot of boredom and loneliness. That is why he had started drinking wine. He was taking refuge in wine and music, and he was talking angrily to himself because there was no one to talk to. So his mental state was also getting a bit disturbed, but then also he had sharpened his intellect also by reading so many books. Okay, So these are the things that have been described from the first year of imprisonment to the 5th year of imprisonment. Now, in the next class, we are going to start with what happened to him from the 6th year onwards. All right. Okay, now